The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It is yet another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, as usual, with me here in the studio are our in-house analysts. We have Silas Ezebu. Welcome. And Henry Johemba.
Thank you.
And your regular host, John Jagba. And for the big issue of today, we are talking of the latest 3-week ultimatum given to the federal government by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. And of course, the ASUU National President, Emmanuel Usodeke, said the industrial action they are about to embark after 3 weeks became necessary due to the failure of the federal government to implement the memorandum of action it signed with the union, upon which the last strike action was suspended last year. And of course, in his words, we are giving the federal government a 3-week ultimatum. If after 3 weeks they don't meet our demands, we will be going on strike. Henry, this is exactly what happened last year. A year before last year, it was still the same scenario. In short, it has become an annual ritual. ASUU and the federal government will always go for a showdown over issues of agreement that are not met. What is it doing this about this really this time around that ASUU is talking about it?
Well, thank you for that. First of all, let me start by saying that the federal government has not quite been forthcoming, has not shown a consistent commitment in resolving this ASUU strike over the years. Remember last year, December 23rd, December 2020, when ASUU union under the leadership of Professor Bioti Oguyemi called up the strike. The union warned that they will embark on another strike if the federal government failed to resolve some of the issues, which include, among others, the end academic allowances, the issue of staff promotion areas, the issue of UTAS, university transparency and accountability, and the issue of IPPIS. Well, after 1 year, the federal government has failed to resolve some of these issues. So I can say that the fault is from the federal government for its inability to work out modalities to implement some of their promises with the as far as they are here to accomplish some of these things. I don't see an end to ASUU anymore from now.
Well, Silas, you've heard what Henry has said. The whole thing is from the federal government. It was observed recently that a Google search of ASUU, which is the acronym of Academic Staff Union of Universities, comes with suggestions that will shock you. Once we say ASUU, the next suggestions you see ASUU strike update, ASUU strike update today. And most Nigerians say they are not surprised because they have come to associate ASUU with strikes. Why has this become a thing of the association?
I'm so frustrated by having to discuss ASUU and strike yet again. Maybe the news, whenever I want to carry it, say, as that goes on, yet another strike, yet so that, even when on the university it was like that, the time they said before it was a full year, for the year and a half, the ASUU strike, even to the military. So this notion of ASUU and strike is not there. And they are a professional organization, a professional union of academic lecturers, academic teachers, academic staff. And then they don't forget easily. They're not people that you tell something today and you think that they go behind and you change your mind. They'll hold you on what you say. They are professors, they are academic, they are core professional intellectual people. They understand the issues and they table it and they discuss it. So it's not like the other unions that you can unfortunately go behind and settle them, some of that, and they do some bridal show, and do some road work and go and sleep. This is the union that is up there, and they know what they want. You cannot say they are looking at the economic situation, the politics and everything that goes on. You can just say that they're asking for too much. They're asking for for environment that will make it, tertiary education, more productive, for the Nigerian, people. And then if you look at all the demands they're making, and they're not out of place. They're asking for money for allowances. I'm sure that politicians who are holding on to these lecturers allowances are earning enough at them. In fact, I spoke to one person one time, he was so angry. He was saying, the hours, the years they spend building themselves not to, to produce for society, produce, young minds, to prepare the young for the challenges of the future and the present. And then they see after spending years and doing themselves, and they see one talk who had just been made an aide to the governor or the government councillor, earning more than those professors, those intellectuals, those PhD holders, and this person just has to school because he knows how to shoot a gun or knows how to shout, the master's slogan, so just some of these things are why if we tell them that there's so money, they don't understand it. Okay, okay, all this government also unfortunately has developed this thick skin to go by agreements. This particular one, this are today. It's been a long time that negotiating, and when they come to implement it, going to sign off, and then nothing happens. Since 20, well, they say December, that's almost 10, 11 months now, and they have not seen anything happening. Even the 22 billion naira that was supposed to go into to them, they've not seen anything yet, and they've got quite 11 months. They've tried. So I'm sure they will have tried to engage the government, over the time, and nothing is forthcoming. And that's look, if you want to go on strike again, don't go those. Because once you say ASUU strike, they start looking at ASUU as the what? As a culprit. When actually a victim of circumstance. They are really, if government does not want to agree to something, they should not sign. Because when you have signed something, you are committed. And they will go home with that mindset that, well, we have agreed on something, we want to start seeing it implemented. So then we'll also do their own personal family project based on what was agreed. And they wait for it 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, or 1 year, and they must do anything. It's also affecting the quality of life they live, the quality of work they do. And when they feel that the government is not taking them seriously, they cannot also take their own work seriously the way it should be. And who is suffering? The youth that under that tutelage and the country that these youths are coming to jam to meet are all suffering. The strike has one of the things which has been the pain of Nigeria's education sector for a long time now. It's not today, a long time. That's why you see most Google, you see as everything you say about ASUU strike, ASUU strike, ASUU strike. And it's so shocking.
Well, the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chris Ngige, came live on a television show yesterday to say the strike threatened by ASUU will not take place because there is money on ground. That there is money on ground. That at the end of the day, they will release the money, and besides, the money will not even be given to ASUU directly. It will be sent straight to the university.
Like listen,
Mm.
For a long time now, government thinks that the best way to solve the problem is to throw money at it.
Mm.
If you look at how to demand, the other things that are not about money, you understand? Not just about cash and carry. And they're not doing all this, they're sleeping, on their watch, all this while. Until once they throw the money, once they see some alert, they'll feel that they're okay. No. There are certain structural things which we agreed in that MOU. And the government has actually not fulfilled anyone. It's not the government by going to sleep on it. And when we say, oh, look, we've not done it, that's okay, I'm going to send you money. What kind of nonsense? They're taking those guys for granted. And those people are not people who take for granted. Those people know the issues and they can easily discern the move you want to make and dissect it and tell you you are not even anywhere yet. So if it's a question of how the money give them, they start to come on in 3 weeks. So they need to begin to implement those structural demands, structural agreement reached with ASUU on that day. That's what they want to see. So,
Before we continue, Henry, I think let's just take a quick break. And of course, before we go for break, we suspected that a viewer out there will contribute to shape the conversation on the big issue. We'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back. We are still on the big issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is strike. Federal government and ASUU set for another showdown. Henry, you heard what Silas just said there, that there are structural issues, very critical ones that ASUU have been asking the federal government to address. And at the end of the day, anytime it comes like this, the federal government will always feel that they should just throw in some chicken change. What are some of these? I think you said something about the N, how did you call that? N allowance.
Adding to what Mr. Cyrus have said, apart from some of these other issues we have been discussing, we have the issue of the University Transparency Accountability Solution, UTAS, with the federal government, which ASUU introduced as an alternative to IPPIs. If you talk to so many lecturers, especially in the federal cabinet territory, they have been complaining that most of the time they will get partly monetary salaries. Some lecturers that have been earning like 200,000 at times at the end of the month, we end up getting like less than 100,000 because of the IPPIs. So the union has been insisting and have developed UTAS as an alternative to IPPI so that they will solve these issues. But up till now, nothing has been done. The federal government say it has passed an integrated test, but up till now, nothing has been done. And the unions are saying that, okay, IPPI is not as effective as the federal government has suggested. So let them go back to their UTAS. But up till now, all these promises, the Minister of Labour and the I think they held series of meetings with the union of recent. But up till now, I don't know where the whole thing is heading to, and these are some of the issues that the union is saying, okay, if you know that IPPI is not transparent, it's not effective, let us go to our UTAS that we have developed ourselves to ensure that there's transparency in the process. So I think these are some of the things that the federal government will need to act urgent to ensure that some of their demands are met.
Well, it is understood, Henry. But the idea here is that we have also seen a situation where even within ASUU, we have ASUU, we have NASU, we have SAN, Senior Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, and the Non-Academic Staff University. But within even this period, sometimes when issues like this come up, these unions too are not even in one accord. We hear ASUU telling the non-academic staff that you are not part of this issue, we are asking the federal government to meet up, and the rest. So at the end of the day, what moral ground was in following the federal government and expecting this in one within itself they want to segregate even the junior staff? Doesn't that
No, you won't call them junior staff like Sanu.
non-academic staff?
Well, you see,
NASU.
you see, the non-academic staff.
Senior.
See, the non-academic staff and senior staff The non-academic are not academic staff, so they're not part of ASUU. All of them are university unions. They all do different work, just like the
But most
media
of
house,
them
for
have
instance.
insisted that yes, which we are part of the
No,
university
listen now.
system.
The kind of work
Without
that
us, the
lecturers
lecturers cannot
listen,
just come and go.
no,
to
listen,
class.
listen. You know, if you come in an academic environment,
Hmm.
the kind of work research and work that lecturers do, you don't compare it to what our teachers will do. And those times they just come, do their work in a day, and go home. But academic staff, they work ahead, they research, they teach, they mark, they score, they record. They understand? All those, it's a lot of, in fact, I used to teach at the time. It's a 24-hour job. You understand? But no academic can come to work in a day and preach some files, and that's the end of the story. You know, so their work is different, and the allowances that ascribe to their work are also different. So some of the allowances that academic staff will earn are not applicable to non-academic staff. So when you ask for end allowance, it's possible that NASU people are not part of it. Like in the hospital, for instance, if you don't expect, if you see a doctor asking for hazard allowance and co, you don't expect to see some people who are not facing the kind of hazards that doctors are also facing to begin to expect to be given such hazard allowance. Those are satisfied for the kind of work that you do. Okay, so the only thing that in an investor environment, uh, the NASU can have its own demand. They will negotiate with the federal government on that and agree. Government can give them whatever government want to do. But if ASUU is asking for its own, peculiarities, it should be understood in that way. If you work in a million house, I work in a million house. The work that we do is completely different from what that means have to. They come to work by 9 and go by 5. But you work 24 hours. Do you understand? So the demands of your work and the demands of your work are different. Different. Do you understand?
Yeah, right. Well, the effect of ASUU strike have been devastating to the Nigerian university system by watering down the quality of education offered to Nigerian students, which has at best been very mediocre.
Joker.
And what do you think would be a final solution to this ASUU federal government impasse that is always leading to strikes?
I think the final solution would be that the federal government will have to keep to their word. Remember, just on Monday, yesterday, the House of Representatives have called on the federal government to ensure that they keep to their agreement with the ASUU. So I think the whole blame here should be on the federal government to make sure, as far as you enter into an agreement with somebody, you have to keep to that agreement. So far as the federal government is not willing to bring a solution to this crisis, I don't see
Any way forward?
I don't see any way for it.
Because ASUU will keep insisting.
ASUU will keep insisting to meet their demands.
Well, Silas, you see, the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chris Ngige, why claiming that there's money on ground to settle ASUU, also spoke about the standard of education, which is falling, and that government alone cannot fund the sector. Now, the federal government is coming out to admit that yes, funding the education sector is too much for it.
You see, there's this to be
What this kind of situation? How can what do you think?
the thing that government is actually supposed to be an enabler. You understand? Okay, and what the government should look at how other countries where they send their children to, how they fund education in those places. Okay, especially university education, how they fund university education in those places. I do not believe that everybody should go to university. I don't know who are supposed to go for academic. But Nigeria notice tonight.
We have the polytechnics and
In fact, those ones are not giving a lot of traction. Now, what some go by, some of the universities to go to, they're self-funded. They have endowments, they have some distributors devoting money for some people. And rich men, what do they do with their money? Because there are people I remembered that always build libraries, laboratories, hostels for universities in Nigeria when he was alive. I don't know what the the pioneers that we have nowadays, what they do to support Because they're the ones that benefit from the people that come out from universities by employing them to work in organizations, to also produce more work from them. But some of them don't even know that they need to, plow back to the system to ensure that the system continue to produce better, you know, uh, workforce for the Nigerian economy and whatever. So they should study what other countries do to fund their own education and adopt it. The thing that government goes to sleep most of the time. Some of them who get into government feel like they've arrived in the place for them to make money. They don't know that they're supposed to add value to the lives of not just education, to health, to infrastructure, to security, to every sector. And that's where they get it from. So government needs to study, okay, fine. If we cannot continue, when it's called they could not continue paying pensions the way they were, find benefit for everybody. If you finish service, you start collect money for life. They came out with the contributory pension, and fine. That is trying to avoid the idea of having to pay someone for life, one person no longer working. Now, they're not even taking time to force that one down. So government should also look into the education sector and find out how it is funded in Europe
And
other
other
countries,
developed
and
countries.
find out, and we also need to have some transfer, because some of the money that the universities also make, they also look for, because the universities also need to operate like a business. There are a lot of wastages there, a lot of people making criminal of the place, and they are not being, the idea of transparency, accountability is not so much stress in the university system. So they also look at the money they're making from universities, how do they spend it? They need to check all those things. Universities are not always rock like a business. So those who do investments, universities can do investments that generate money, universities to as internally generated revenue. What do our universities do to generate money for their own upkeep? Do you understand? Not apart from just increasing fees, increasing, they can fund research and make money from research findings and develop products for the market. You understand? Universities are universal. You understand? But here they just like a pigeonhole system where they just operate in one cocoon and stop there. No, they should look at it and find a way to be also self-funding without necessarily passing a burden on parents.
On parents.
That one need to do.
Yes, because if you see even private universities now, the kind of what they call school fees
It's
in
out of
there
this
is terrible. At the end of the day, it is only the children of the very rich that can afford to go to this private university. You see, the Afe Babalola University, even some of these church universities from churches like Living Faith and the rest.
Yes.
Very, very exorbitant amount of money. We run into millions. You pay asking fee.
Yeah.
And at
And
the end of
how
the
do you expect
day,
somebody not to graduate from that kind of thing when you have that kind of money?
of course,
That's why it's not that
this
coming out with
is
first class all the time.
these are the kind of universities that will always turn out very large number of first class candidates.
And when you find out, when you go to the market, they don't really survive it the way that see. Let me tell you, the brains are in the public universities. Could you see first of all, well people,
Of course.
who the system is frustrating so much that their productivity is being dampened, their morale and so on. But give them what they want. Go there. See brains.
And silence,
People will live there that sit there.
Yes, let me tell
The
you.
private universities don't bother to hire them because they don't really pay them.
The kind of
So they just take all these young people and people who are not grounded.
Yes.
And you see them give people for
And the
cash.
funniest
See,
thing-
that's where we came. The fact they came out from. Before you can get in a professor's course, you have to read and tumble over.
So research in all the public institutions.
Before you can, but here you can just do something to me because they need to pay them to me. What kind of?
Why? And you see, I recently discovered there's about 53 bills. There's a bill before the Senate asking for more universities. I think about 53 universities again. When at the end of the day, the federal government is talking of not being able to even fund the ones they have, or to even address issue of welfare of the academic staff union.
Well, those who private universities, are they not?
Huh?
They were mostly private universities.
The ones that are
I
seeking.
think we have about 79 private universities.
Now-
Now, in total, we have about 190 universities in the country. About 40 something federal or 50 so state universities. But the truth of the matter is, if you go to most of these state or federal universities, the condition is so terrible Some of what I graduated from Benue State University, I used to sit on the floor. It's not a story that somebody has told me. I explained it myself. So I think most of the experts we spoke to, they were advised that federal government should invest on the existing universities. If you invest on the current capacities and the infrastructure, I think all of this issue will be resolved. Instead of establishing new universities while the
old ones are being intact.
Just like they can also use its goodwill with some of these billionaires that they don't know what to do with their money, and tag them to some university. Look, how can we do for university? We want to increase this to reform this idea. See, I will tell you the story of one of my classmates then, the man that runs peace transport. Even as a student, there, he built just for driving business. He built a hostel and a building for his department there, social science, by himself. And then it's all other people who have made money, who want to draw back in the system, coming to take up one aspect to improve the system that they behind. But the numbers are going down. Government, if cannot do it, they can use their goodwill and call the Dangotes and the Savada, all this one you can.
They came out for that COVID-19
intervention
and the rest.
So can we mop up this kind of funds? Can we raise 100 billion from the Nigerian universities, invest it wisely in the area so that this will change?
Well, that is the much we can take for today's edition of the big issue. And of course, you've heard it all. The Nigerian education system is in a shambles. The standard is falling. And we're always churning out university graduates who are mediocre. And it calls for worry. And most of it borders on the welfare of the academic staffs. And the federal government actually is not forthcoming in its agreement with ASUU. And it seems there's no end in sight. Well, that is an issue we'll be watching. We hope that there will be a final solution to it. I thank you, viewer, for keeping tab with us. And of course, I'll thank our in-house analyst, Henry Silas, for a job well done. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of The Big Issue. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.